it's so hard for people to be inherently trusting that, I am just worth it. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody, let alone yourself. So I
Yes.
think that the advice would be is that trust yourself, love yourself first and foremost. You have to love yourself so deeply in order to have deep loving connections with anybody else. Like, you will
Yes.
not find that in a relationship, that you will not find that in anything in your career until you truly undoubtedly love yourself at your core and know when you mess up, doesn't matter, you're still worthy. When you don't make enough money, doesn't matter, you're still worthy. And like that is such, I think, the core thing. And again, a lot easier said than done, but I think that that's kind of the main thing, is that just love yourself, push yourself, but still love yourself.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Just Keep Showing Up podcast. This is your man, Derek, and I am here today with Anna. How are you doing, Anna?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. We just talked a little bit before we hit the record button. I'm very, very excited to talk to you. Thank you for making time to be on the show.
Yeah.
And as I just mentioned, a lot of people that I've talked to before, I've known them not very, very well, but most people I've had relationships with them for quite some time. So it's going to be really fun just talking to you, because I think I've seen you in the gym before.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
we
we were in the
definitely
gym. That's where we first met.
yep, we
Yeah,
definitely given some waves.
yeah, in the gym. Yeah, so it's cool. But it was just, seeing you on Instagram. It's been like that with a few people, and you share some things that really resonate with me. And I just was like, hey, would you mind being on the show? And I'm so thankful that you said yes. So
Absolutely.
yes, I'm excited. So I start off each show with asking my guests, can you share a little bit about yourself, just so the people who are listening know who's talking to them? There's no wrong answers. There's no too little. There's no too much. So I'm passing it
Okay.
to you.
Yeah, I am born and raised in Maryland here. I am 26 years old. I'm an entrepreneur in the area. I have a couple businesses, dabbled in some nonprofit things. Definitely a nature gal, spiritual gal, doing all that kind of stuff. Let's see what else. Into all the art scene, music scene, really anything creative you can find me doing.
Mm-hmm.
Love to love to learn new things. Sorry if there's music going on. Someone's driving by my apartment right
It's
now.
okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty much an open book as far as who I am. But that's a little brief synopsis.
Okay, well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Uh, 26 years old, and an entrepreneur, and own a
Mm-hmm.
couple of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very interesting, and
Yeah.
that's really cool too. We'll get into that. So I'll just jump right into it. And with the podcast, this is the Just Keep Showing Up podcast. And I can only imagine having businesses, because you said plural with an S. And you
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
briefly spoke about your brother, and he has a gym.
He
So it kind of
does.
like runs in the family to get out and be your own boss,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna just start with, just in life in general. What are some things you do for yourself to keep showing up? Uh, and we could start there. We definitely
Yeah.
gonna spin off and
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? That's actually been a big theme in my life recently,
Mhm.
about really like showing up for myself. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of times in my life, like, been through a lot of like struggles, trials, and tribulations and things like that. And I feel like I've not really shown up for myself how I should have. I feel like actually this year is the first time that I am really actively making sure that I'm doing it, intentionally, as
Mhm.
you talked about the Instagram name. But I really try to look at myself as somebody that I am responsible for taking care of. I've
Mhm.
always been somebody who loves to take care of my animals, my people around me. I'll do anything for the people that I love, but I really
Mhm.
didn't do it for myself. And
Okay.
that kind of led me to an interesting past couple of years of just kind of ups and downs and crazy things. And so I feel like the biggest way of showing up for myself now recently is just making sure that I actually am simply doing it, getting to the gym, eating healthy, not drinking, making sure I'm getting out, getting sunlight, and just really trying to take care
Mhm.
of my body. I feel like I've taken care of my mental, my spiritual a lot,
Mhm.
more than some other ways in my life. But Really just trying to put myself out there and putting as much good in the world as I can for other people, and I feel like that reflects
Yes.
back to me. It
Hmm.
makes me feel really good when I see the people that I love happy. So
Yes.
just trying to, again, actively, intentionally do that, and then it kinda all comes full circle, and it really has been this year. So it's been really cool to, like, watch, kind of from, like, step outside of myself and be like, "Alright, it's starting to come back around."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I can tell you, like, I would say that I am a product of that because I felt like that's kind of what I picked up on is like a person who's really, but I didn't pick up on like you doing things for yourself. I picked more up on you putting things out in the world and trying to make a difference within the circle, within your community. And I want to ask, what was the shift? What shift in your life that caused you to like suddenly like, hey, I want to show up for myself. I could feel that I'm not doing that for me. Was there like a certain shift?
You know, I think that it was over time, but it was like this little back and forth kind of thing, right? Like it was
Hmm.
I would have some sort of, traumatic thing happen. I'd be like, all right, like I gotta start doing this, and then I'd get comfortable and I'd let
Hmm.
myself fall back in. And then,
Very natural. Yeah.
the death of comfort and I think it got to a point where honestly in just like relationships in my life, I realized that I wasn't really my sense of self was lacking. Like I've always
Yeah.
had this sense, and it's so interesting because people have always told me, family and things are like, oh, like you're so artistic, you're this, that, and the third. But I never really felt like I had that like sense of self truly
Yes.
because I
Yes.
always was pouring into other people, which I think is great. But I'm trying to
Yes.
find that balance now. So I think it was really just gradually over time. And then my last relationship, when that ended, I was like, I just gotta quit this and I gotta really pour into myself. Like I gotta pour
Hmm.
that love into myself that I pour into others. And I think
Yes.
that really was, like I said, the end of last year coming into this year, it was kind of just like, all right, like I'm doing this now. Like I'm not going to abandon myself anymore.
Yes,
So yeah.
gosh. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I could relate to that so much when it comes to like relationships. And that's a word I specifically use. I usually say betraying myself. Like I'm kind of like losing myself for the sake of trying to maintain a relationship.
Right.
And I've had someone on the podcast before that spoke about, she was saying she had to love herself first so she can love everybody else, and
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think when you do that, you're able to go into relationships like with a healthy mindset to where
Yeah.
you're doing things now because you want to, not because you have to, and you're not stuck somewhere, you
Right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh yeah, so that's really good. The sense of self and like, expressing like how you said you feel like you was abandoning yourself.
Yeah.
That's really, really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
and and then the intentional part, that's what I really uh like that is because I often say, you know, when you mature, the maturation process is very intentional. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't just
Mm-hmm.
happen because you're getting older.
Right.
You have
Oh
to
no.
actually be deliberate. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the same mindset. I didn't think about this, but I just thought of it now as an entrepreneur. It's a lot of things you have to be really deliberate about. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like with
Mm-hmm.
our lives, it's very much the same. And I often say we are the entrepreneurs of our life.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I just want to like pull on the intentional piece about that. Like, what's the motivation behind that? And
Yeah. Yeah. So what's funny about that? So I used to be, a lot more on Instagram. Had a bigger
hmm
Instagram following and things like that.
hmm
Um, and it was cool. It was whatever. But I felt like I was kind of going through life uh, unintentionally. I was just kind of existing. And I
yes,
think it was back around 2022. I got off of all social media. I really kind of like
hmm
reclused myself almost to a point of like not even knowing how to like be social again and like
yeah,
interact with people. I had to like relearn it. It was so
yeah,
weird.
hmm
So weird. And that was around the time because I moved back to Maryland from North Carolina back in March of 23. So it's been about 2 years now.
okay,
So I actually remade my Instagram when my dog passed in March
oh,
of 23. And
hmm
so he was always at like just I firmly believe that the animals in my life come into my life. Like I don't really choose them. They kind of just
hmm
like I don't seek them. They kind of come to me. And
yes,
he was always around me, always laying at my feet whenever I was doing art, whenever I was doing anything, kind of looking at me, he wagging his tail. It was almost like this cool thing where he was like, "Yeah, keep going, keep going." And
Yeah.
So it really inspired me to get back out there because I had a fear of being seen. And I
Wow.
feel like when I was on my Instagram before, it was kind of this just like facade in a way, which I didn't really notice. And I was like, all right, like, and I'm still building that right now. Like, I am truly deeply in the middle of the process of being truly me, and
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
taking up space and being unapologetic about that and
Yes.
who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the thing about the intentional of like, I intentionally want to interact with people. I intentionally want to listen to people because I would kind of like listen, but I wouldn't
Yes.
listen to actually, you know, understand. I would just be listening just to hear. Like it wasn't
Yes.
actually like I was taking it. So that was a big thing with, you know, being intentional with the actions that I'm doing, the way I interact with my family, spending more
Mm-hmm.
time
Yeah.
and truly seeing how that brought more life into me. And then the 551, and I'm all about anything signs, synchronicity. So I was born at 5:51 p.m.
Oh,
My
wow.
soul
Okay.
dog passed at 5:51 p.m.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, dang. And like I see that number everywhere all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of like, you know, like I said, around the time that Winston passed, I was like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, like, you know, I've got to do this. And I almost was like doing it for him, translating it into, again, doing it for me. So just
Yes.
living intentionally. I feel like so many people go through life just on autopilot. Like they're not really seeing what's around them. They're not really actively
Yes.
intentionally working in themselves and their relationships. And that's something that, and a lot easier said than done. I
It
fall out
is.
of it all the
Mm-hmm.
time. You know, I have to
Yeah.
really kind of remind myself like, be present, be there. And that's such a hard thing for me, is being truly present.
Mm-hmm.
So intentional presence, that's, you know, the biggest thing that kind of came behind that Instagram name.
Yes. And it's interesting that you mentioned the fear of being seen. And I
Mhm.
guess when you, because I know you mentioned, we just like talked once before about being a model at one time,
Yeah.
and like
Yep,
you're in
yep.
front of the camera. So when you say fear of
Mhm.
being seen, is it not so much like the physical part of you, but actually person seeing you for who you are totally? And then also as a model, is there a part of like kind of wanting to like hide away a little bit because you are always in front of the camera, you know?
Yeah, so that's what was so interesting. So it's so wild for me to think back to myself, like when I was modeling full time and when I was doing this, and I was so confident in,
Mm-hmm.
at least I thought I was confident. You know, I was confident in my appearance and things like that. And then kind of going through that industry and kind of just seeing like the shallowness of people and kind of like the
Mm-hmm.
meanness and being through just some crappy stuff. I was like, this is just not me. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
not how I really want to live my life. And I remember it was a tangible time around the time that I was turning 21. That's
Okay.
kind of when my like spiritual kind of journey started, and I started having these weird, like I call it like my like you know, awakening kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. First one, which it's cyclical, you know, it continues to happen, but the first one where I was like, this is just so weird, and I had realized that even though I was modeling, I was portraying this person that people wanted me to look like,
Mm,
you
yes.
know, like you know, and friends and family, you know, growing up and kind of, you know, making me feel small, not intentionally, you know, I don't think that they
Yeah.
exist that way,
Yes.
but kind of like me hiding away. Like I was always too much. I was always the goofy one, the loud one, you know, the excessive one. And I feel like over time through modeling, I actually dimmed that down to be
Mm,
digestible. And it's like, yeah, like that. And I would never change it. I loved it. It was a great
yes.
experience, great time. But so the fear of being seen, it was never
Mm-hmm.
my physical appearance, which is interesting because I actually have like a lot more insecurity about that now,
Wow.
because I think, you know, I focus now more on my internal, how I project out rather than just like the kind of cover.
Yes.
It's interesting. So I actually, that this had a lot to do. So I buzzed my head back in the end of 2022, and
Okay.
that was a big thing because I my hair was always different colors, crazy colors, super long. I kind of hid behind it, and I didn't realize until I buzzed it, and I was like, "Whoa! Like this is really like interesting." And so that was kind of a part of like me wanting to be seen as, you know, myself, my soul, rather
Yes.
than just what I look like. So
Yes.
I'm still kind of finding, you know, getting
Mhm.
back to that inner child, that goofiness, that, you know, just girl who just didn't care. She was so bold and just so out there, and I'm still trying
Yes.
to, you know, get, you know, bring her back out because
Mm-hmm.
she, I mean, and like, you know, in previous years, I mean, I want to say between God, like 20 between 2018 to 2022. Actually, honestly, 2018 to the end of 2024, I had been straight fight or flight mode. I had so many bad things
Wow.
happen,
Hmm.
like moving all around, like I got jumped, like I like that there was
Yeah.
crazy stuff that happened, and I didn't realize until years later how much that made me really shrink into myself to make myself
Hmm.
less seen, so like
Yes.
to
Yes.
protect myself. So
Yes.
so trying to step out of that now, when I feel finally confident, I'm getting my
Hmm.
feet back under me how I want to. It's a
Yes.
scary thing. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I'm just sitting there listening. I'm like loving all, loving all of it. You said awakening and feeling small. And you mentioned, you said a specific word as you were talking earlier about taking up space. And that makes so
Yeah.
much more sense now if you feel like you're shrinking down.
Mhm.
Now you're
Mhm.
like, hey, I want to take up space. And that could be a term that people can take as a negative connotation, but it's really not. It's like coming in and, hey, taking up space, not being afraid of where you
Yes.
are and knowing who you are is enough.
Mhm.
Do
Mhm.
you do? Here's a question I have. And this is something I was thinking about as you were talking. As you become more intentional about your life,
Mhm.
does it tend to get you to trust yourself more? Would you say?
Ooh, so that is huge. So
Hmm.
trusting myself, right?
Yes.
That is, yeah, that is, I'm really, really working on trusting myself because, in the past of me, doing things that I don't want to do for the sake of, somebody else's feelings. I again
Yes.
then kind of I have a lot of lack of trust within myself to protect
Hmm.
myself to, if
Yeah.
I'm in head like, I don't really want to do this, but I force myself to, it creates this lack of trust in myself that I didn't
Yeah.
really realize. And so I think that that translates to not trusting other people because I
Hmm.
have to have that trust in myself that if something bad turns out, if a relationship or a friendship or a business thing, I need to trust that I will be able to back myself up there no
Hmm.
matter what. And so that is definitely what I'm, starting to pick up on now is like now that, yeah, I'm like, all right, like I can trust myself that
Yes.
I
Yes.
like no matter what happens, like I got me, I'll figure it out. So yeah, that is
Hmm.
that's crazy that you say that. That is huge for me right now that I'm still trying to build that trust, within
Hmm.
me.
I kind of sense that uh that the trust is developing. Like, it's, to me, it's a little, I was expecting, like, I thought you were gonna say like flat out yes, because all of the things, and the reason I say that is because I kind of parallel it to my life and like the journey I'm on right now, like with authenticity and being
Mhm.
intentional. Of course, I'm a lot
Mhm.
older, but it's all the things you're putting in place.
Yeah.
It's like, it's those are the exact same things I did that led me to where I'm at now. And I was brought up the trust part because the life we live can be so, it could just be so crazy. And I wrote a note because I'm so impressed by like your, like, just the way your brain works just from this conversation, and
Thank
also being
you.
a part of the generation that you're a part of. It's like
Mhm.
so different
Mhm.
from the generation, maybe what you may see on IG. Like, you're
Yep.
kind of in tune with yourself, but then I also know there's things that you've gone through in life, and it almost sounds like with the intentional piece, you can kind of look back and see how all those things were like a part of your life and kind of helped you arrive to where you are now. Um,
Absolutely.
so, like, going back to the trust is like, I'll just say it's like encouraging this on the podcast. Just, yeah, like you seem like you're in alignment, and you're going forward, and just continue to like have those little small moments of trusting yourself. If you hear something, just
Yeah.
try. Like, I can give you an example for me. I sometimes I'll have like this urge. I'm driving. It's like, Derek, stop and get gas, and I'll sometimes follow, sometimes I don't. But those times when I don't, I'll intentionally do it, not follow, just to see what tomorrow brings, because it's something small, right? So
Sure.
if I end up having to run somewhere and I'm rushing, or I'm in the car worrying about running out of gas, at least I'm learning that, Derek, trust your intuition. Trust that
Right.
little voice that you hear in
Right.
that process, So it's taking the little small moments that are not like, that's not going to destroy something, to kind of get fine tune things. So.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it because I definitely like as far as intuition, like I definitely have been listening to it more because That's a big thing too, that when I look back at all these things that have happened, you know, I say bad things, negative things, however, I would never change them because, like you
Yeah.
said, like, they
Yes.
all led
Hmm.
up, like, even though how bad they were, how traumatic
Yes.
they all led to where I am right now. I would
Yes.
not change a single thing. But every single time I had this gut feeling about something being off, I have never been wrong, and so that has to do
Yeah.
with that trusting myself, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yes.
listening to that, you know. And I think that's such an interesting thing about like fine tuning it, and being like, okay, like, I got that feeling was right, and then you
Mm.
start to, again, I think that your intuition and your trust go hand in hand within yourself.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
you can trust that voice in your head that's saying, hey, do this, or hey, don't do that, and
Hmm.
actually listening to it, because we as
Yeah.
humans, I feel like, have such a powerful intuition, but we're not taught to listen to that.
Yeah,
That's
that
like
part right
it's
there. That part.
yeah.
We're not taught to
Mhm.
listen to it. And I feel like it
Mhm.
was given to us. It's put inside of us. It's like our protection.
Yeah.
I often say I feel like there's a part of me, a part of us, a part of humans who have walked this life, and now we're kind of
Right.
like in reverse, and this is like guiding you along, something that's inside of you.
Yeah.
But I be way out in like space world sometimes when
Oh,
I'm
me
thinking.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So it's really really good. Uh, this has been like great. So this is so I really
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And I think and just back to the like the IG footprint, and I was
Yeah.
talking to someone at the gym, and he was explaining to me that his girlfriend, and this guy, he was probably like, I think maybe close to 30. Like I know he wasn't over 30, or maybe if he was like 31, but he was just explaining to me how his girlfriend, part of the generation, just has to, she's on IG, being an entrepreneur, but it's like this. It's almost like it's become a thing where you have to have an IG page, have so many followers, and doing
Mhm.
certain things, but it's probably not built for everybody. So I just think it's so interesting how you're able to navigate in that space and not feel like you have to be on there. So
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely been an interesting space, because again, before, like, when I was modeling and I was posting that, making connections, and I mean, it was really cool. I was able to meet a lot of people. I was able
Hmm.
to, go into some really cool spaces. But now that I'm kind of out of that, and my posting is different.
Hmm.
Before, I think I used to, look at, oh, how many likes did this thing get? But
Hmm.
I think, again, my generation, and even the generation younger than me, because when I was in high school, that's kind of when, social media was just kind of starting to like pop off. So at
Hmm.
least I had a childhood where I was growing up and going out, and we were playing manhunt in the woods, and we were making forts, and we were doing that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And like,
Yes.
now it is such this thing, especially for a lot of people my age and younger, that their self-worth is so tied to their Instagram,
Yeah.
how many
Yes.
likes they
It's
got, how
tough.
many followers they got. And it
Hmm.
is so deeply ingrained in us
Hmm.
that I don't think people realize, and it's hard to step out of. Like, I say
Yes.
all the time, if I didn't have to have Instagram for my business, I would not have social media. I mean,
Yeah.
that I definitely am, on it a lot less, but that doom scrolling, I mean, it's engineered to keep people in this
Yes.
little box instead of
Hmm.
actually expanding, in all kinds of ways, and actually, like we as humans have so much potential, and we're
Hmm.
just trapped by this little teeny tiny box, and the
Yeah.
validation and the comments and the likes, and it's so sad to see. And it's been interesting kind of pulling myself out of it. I'm definitely not as far away from it as I would like, but
Hmm.
I definitely am a lot better as to, when it was kind of all consuming, and
Yeah.
just whew, it can take over people's lives, especially
Yeah.
young people who don't have proper guidance to not be in it.
Yeah, I know I'm guilty of scrolling, but I've worked my algorithm. So like I'm trying to just have like positive things and a few
Yes.
funny things. So
Yep.
yeah,
Mhm.
and have certain things set in place for myself to kind of help me stay on course. So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Especially, I mean, and I'm kind of that way now. Like the stuff that I see, it all has to do with like my business or working out or food or something like that. So at least you
Hmm.
can tailor it, so that there are positives to it. You just really got to be,
Hmm.
again, intentional about it.
Yes.
You got to be careful.
Yes. So I have if somebody was listening and they like, man, Anna's just all over stuff that I'm thinking about and
Yeah.
talking about. Uh, what advice would you give that person? Like what you said resonated with them, and they're like, man, I want to try to just not follow her footsteps, or just things she
Yeah.
said. I really enjoyed what she said. So just
Yeah.
some advice for that person.
I would say really just uh take it easy on yourself. I mean, you have to push yourself and you also have to give yourself grace, right? Because that there's
Yes.
this comfort zone that we can get into that, I've been guilty of getting into and kind of being like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that again." And then I feel bad and the next day I feel fine and I'm like, it wasn't that bad.
Hmm.
And so I think it has to do with just push yourself and encourage yourself kind of as if, it's little you, as if you are responsible for taking care of this person, just how somebody is
Hmm.
responsible for taking care of an animal. A lot of people think about this way, like you're like, oh, like I don't deserve love unless I do X, Y, and Z. Well, if you have an animal, and like I'm looking at my dog right now, like I love her unconditionally. I feed her,
Hmm.
I bathe her, I take her out,
Yes.
I exercise her, and she might, she chews something up, like whatever, but she inherently is worthy of my love.
Mm.
She doesn't have to do anything. Like you don't look at your dog and you're like, you have to do 10 tricks for me to love you. But
Hmm.
we put that on ourselves, right? Like we don't
Yeah.
give ourselves enough self-love because we haven't hit the career goals that we want, the
Yes.
relationship goals that we want, and we
Yes.
have to be, we tell ourselves that we have to be worthy of love. It's so hard for people to be inherently trusting that, I am just worth it. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody, let alone yourself. So I think
Yes.
that the advice would be is that trust yourself, love yourself first and foremost. You have to love yourself so deeply in order to have deep loving connections with anybody else. Like you will not
Yes.
find that in a relationship, that you will not find that in anything in your career until you truly undoubtedly love yourself at your core and know when you mess up, doesn't matter, you're still worthy. When you don't make enough money, doesn't matter, you're still worthy. And like that
Hmm.
is such, I think, the core thing. And again, a lot easier said than done, but I think that that's kind of the main thing, is that just love yourself, push yourself, but still love yourself and give yourself grace.
I never thought of this way until you just explained loving yourself like that, and how you just explained that. It showed me how a person can love others unconditionally. Like if
Mhm.
you, because if you loving yourself and you loving all of you, so the things that you know that behind the scenes you, the
Right.
shadow you,
Yep.
then then
Mhm.
then you can approach other relationships, not just intimate partners, but family and friends with like with understanding, with grace.
Yes.
You know, and we could say unconditionally. Of course, if a person is doing something that's crazy, you can love them, but you understand your place within their life. But
Mhm. Mhm.
but that's interesting how loving yourself and loving yourself through it all can definitely
Yeah.
cultivate love within the world, and you loving others and
Mhm.
understanding that we all are just trying to get through life. So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
really
that that
good.
that's huge. I mean, the saying that you can only meet others as deeply as you've met yourself. And I
Yes.
remember that
Yes.
there's this one podcast that I was listening to, and I forget his name. I'll have to send it to you, and it was really good. And the way he was talking
Hmm.
about, how much judgment is in the world and things like that. And often, it's a
Hmm.
mirror of your self-reflection. But the
Yes.
way he said it, he was like, a lot of people would rather judge than confront their own
Yes.
lovelessness. And I was
Yes.
like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Like I had to like listen to it a couple times. And he was
Yeah.
kind of saying how, it's a lot easier for someone to judge than them really look within themselves and say, damn, I don't really love myself, or I never got that love
Hmm.
from a parent, from, a
Yeah.
person. It's easier to project that hurt. And,
Yes.
it's hard to give that grace. And I think that that has been something my whole life where people have, walked all over me. I say that lightly, but like doing
Hmm.
things
Yeah.
that have hurt me. But I feel like that's like a superpower, that I can still hold capacity for that and still show love to somebody who
Yes.
has that, and
Hmm.
the world needs more of that rather than getting bitter and revenge. It's like, no, like we're all a product of our
Yeah.
environment, and the only thing that's going to change that is true deep love of each other
Hmm.
and understanding of each other. And once you
Yes.
understand, like, you're like you were talking about your shadow self, your darkest parts,
Yeah.
then you can start to say, look at somebody who's doing something quote unquote wrong that you might view as wrong and be like, I understand and I still love you no matter what. And
Hmm.
again, a lot easier said than done.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
But it's a thing to keep in mind. And once you hit that, you're there.
Yeah. Question for you. I have my answer. I'll even
Okay.
write it down. I'll even write it down. So what would you say? What does it cost you to continue to love someone who's hurt you? Like what
So
would you say it costs you? Yeah. Let's keep it somewhere like Your brother did something to you, you're really mad, and uh yeah, what does it cost you to continue to love him?
I feel like in a relationship like that, when it's family, the
Mm-hmm.
way that I feel, and it's no matter what, like that person is going through their own journey. Like I can still love them, and you can kind of detach yourself from it, right? Like
Yeah,
you can
yes.
still
Yeah, yeah.
love someone. Like I still love you, but you won't have, the ability to, hurt me anymore or something like that.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
That
yes.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
boundary right there. So I
Yeah,
don't even
yes.
know if I would say that it necessarily costs me something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously when someone that you love hurts you, you got to grieve it. But I
Yeah.
mean, like my parents, for example, like what we, our family growing up, was not, the best. I mean, everyone's got their stuff, but that impacted a lot of my brother and I's, kind of
Mm-hmm.
upbringing and things like that. But it's like no matter what, even that there were times in my life where I didn't even speak to my parents for a
Mm-hmm.
quite a long while, and we are the closest that we've ever been now, which is amazing. But even in those times when we didn't speak, if they called me and they needed me, I would be right
Yeah.
there, and that is
Yeah.
what love is. That is
Yes.
like you still might not, we might not be on this certain level, but I still love you regardless, and I will be
Mm-hmm.
for there if you truly need me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think it just I don't even know if I would say that it really costs you anything as long as you have the proper boundaries. Some people love
Yes.
somebody and then they keep allowing them to hurt them, and then that's just not good. And then
Yeah.
that's just like
Yes.
that I think is when you abandon yourself.
Mm-hmm. I
That's when I
agree.
think you abandon yourself. Yep, and you
Yeah.
overlook that. You let that go.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, and the boundaries part is very, very important. And I've been thinking about this lately with uh like relationships, just different relationships, or even just people in general.
Mhm.
For me it comes down to like the my ego, trying to keep that in check and realizing that if
Okay.
something happens, and it's not even just, I guess, loving, but just responding to a person if they say something negative, I can just like, okay, whatever, and it's just like not
Mhm.
allowing my ego to get in the way, that it doesn't
Yes.
cost anything tangible. It's just me
Mhm.
kind of having control of myself and my
That's huge.
response. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
So
that that is huge. Yeah.
that's why I was answering that. But yeah, do you have any other final things you like to say?
I think I don't know. I think we're good. I think we had a
Yeah.
pretty good combo.
Yes, this was great. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, Anna. Uh
Absolutely.
that was Thanks everybody for checking out the show. Until next time, peace.